Hello, welcome along to the Rangers Rabble podcast. I'm your host, Martin, and I am joined tonight by an old friend who, every time I put something really stupid on Twitter, is the first one to jump on top of me. Cammy, how are you?
I'm good.
So what, you try to tell me it's not true?
Well, don't make mistakes. Then I'll no catch you out.
And of course, a man who probably works harder than Ali McCoist on these pods, it's Scott Kerr. Kerr, how are you?
Okay, Martin, I'm okay.
Does your missus still absolutely hate me?
She doesn't hate you, but I think if you know what you're doing, you should reverse again. Put it that way.
And I honestly would not blame her. Very quickly, Jim Patterson, evening, Jim. Owen Bradley, it's superb. Since we started, the same comment every video. Come on, the teddy bears. Owen, I hope you're well. Of course, good evening from CGM. Nicola, hello to all who follow the champions. Moore, RFC, all right, lads. We've got Ian Moore morning, so I wonder, Ian, where are you? Let us know where you are. Robert Robertson, good evening, fellow Bears squad. The comments just keep coming and coming and coming. It's brilliant. Loads and loads to talk about. Just before we dive into it, I say it every week. If you are watching, please do like and subscribe. A like helps the pod go so much more further than you can imagine. And I'm going to set CJ my task again of counting how many times I mentioned Patreon. But of course, we do have a Patreon. Links in the description. Plenty of extra shows, and you're helping support the podcast get better and better and better. Ian Moore's in Texas. There you go. He's probably told me that before, and I should remember. Stuart Keane. Good evening, Stuart. How are you? Right. Well, it's not really breaking news, Cammy, because this is a time of year when we get loads and loads and loads of speculation, contracts, transfers. But obviously, I think it was Nigerian news that Kerr was saying had reported that it's unlikely that Joe Aribo will sign a new deal at Rangers. Is that worrying, or do you just take it in your stride and go, look, it's just nonsense?
There's probably an element of truth in it. I'm assuming that Ross Wilson's probably had conversations with those that are going into the last 18 months of their contracts. Aribo's in the best form of his Rangers career. We're obviously going to lose him to the African Cup of Nations for a few weeks coming up January, February time. It's one of those we can't allow a Golson situation to happen again. So I don't expect Aribo or any of the other players that are going into that last 18 months to leave in January. But I think come the summer, there will be a turnover of staff. We just have to try and get the maximum return for Joe. He's developed every season he's been with us, and he's top class at the moment. Personally, I don't think he's going to walk into an English Premiership team and start. I would like to see him extend his contract, be in the Champions League playing the group stages next season. Just basically do similar to what Glenn Kamara's done. Extend his contract a bit longer. We'll reward them with a good wage packet. But you don't know tapping up happens. You don't know if his agent's already. Somebody's had a conversation. I can offer him 40 grand a week or 50 grand a week. You don't know what's going on, but it's like you say, Martin. It's the time of it's only the 7th of December, and we're 7 weeks away from the end of the transfer window. And it's can it not be the 1st of February? Because once we get the 2nd of January out the road, that's all that's going to fill the papers for 2 or 3 weeks and fill the websites, but we just have to wait and see. He's done well for us. I'd like to see him stay a bit longer, but we can't let a player go into the last year of their contract like it's happened with Connor Golson.
No, we cannot. And I'm so looking forward to those January discussions about who's coming and who's going, and we can just speculate. Messi might be coming because he's unhappy at PSG. Who knows? But anyway, before we carry on, I want to welcome I say new pod. He's been with us for a while, but for one or two reasons he's not been able to come on. So welcome to the Rangers Rabble, Barry. Barry, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Martin. Thank you for inviting me on again.
No worries, no worries. Of course, you have made your debut on our Patreon, CGM. I think that's true. We were just discussing, obviously, I don't know if you could hear in the background, Joe Aribo possibly not signing a new deal. See, right now, is he probably, would you say, the best player at Rangers?
I think he's probably one of our most sellable assets, that's for sure, definitely. The way he's been playing in the last couple of weeks, he's been a complete standout, especially the performance on Saturday against Dundee. Clear man of the match, all over the park. I think Gio looked to have given him more of a free roll right across the park. I think he was involved in everything on Saturday. Obviously got his goal, probably made the second goal, which ended up being an OG, and I think he was unreal on Saturday. I think there's definitely still more to come from Aribo, and I think Gio will get the best out of him, to be honest.
But that is the thing here. You can clearly see with Joe Aribo that the sky's the limit. There is so much more to come. He's still young. But Cammy says the most important thing is we can't let another Goldson saga happen with Aribo. Simply because, if you want to just put it into pure business terms, he's worth so much more than the Goldson is.
We can't, Martin, you know yourself, every club's in a similar situation. When you've got a player coming down to their contract, you basically have to sell them. If you don't want to stay, you have to sell because you have to sometimes refresh your squad. Normally, you can do it to selling players. And Aribo's a sellable asset, as in Barry said, and you probably get a good amount for him. But if you let him run down his contract, it's not great business sense because that's what Rangers can't afford to do. So we all love him, we all want him to stay because he's going to get better. But he's, you know yourself, the bright lights of the English Premiership and the pound signs you can get there. It's where all players look at because they know if they can sign 1 or 2 deals there, they're set for life. I'm not saying they're not earning a good money at Rangers because they are, but you know yourself, double your money, treble your money, you'd be a fool to knock it back because I wouldn't knock back double or treble my wages and I don't want anybody any sane fan mood. So then Joe's not getting affiliation at Rangers. He's come up here, he's proved himself, he's learned playing a league where it's quite difficult at times. He's improved his game and he goes back down England a better player because of Rangers, but we can't stop things. Like, all we can do is get back more than we paid for him and hopefully get a good profit on him.
I know, look, CGM does make the point. Look, his deal runs until 2023, so nothing to worry about. Cammy, is a deal till 2023 still nothing to worry about? Listen, I know it's 2 years, but you let that go another year.
But it isn't 2 years. We're nearly in 2022. So
well, we're nearly, of course. So it is. It's a year, really, isn't it? So it needs to be sorted.
As I said, the African Cup of Nations runs from the 9th of January to the 6th of February. Now, we all hope that Nigeria get pumped out in the group stages and our players are back as quickly as possible. No disrespect to the players that are going to go and play for their country, but I want them back playing for Rangers. But that's going to impact any transfer. So I don't believe that we'll sell anybody that's part of the first team, the first 16, 18, 20, whatever that Gio's dealing with. We will get to the summer, and then that's when your Connor Golson's out of contract. Does McGregor, Arfield, Davis, do they get extended contracts? And anybody that hasn't extended, Helander, Morelos, Aribo and Kent are all going at that point 12 months. So I know what CGM's saying, but 2023 isn't that far away. If you get to the end of the season, that's the last year of their contract. So I think they either sign an extension, which I hope all 4 players that are going into the last 18 months of their contract, I would love them all to extend and then protect the club and also they maybe get an extra couple of grand a week or whatever it may be, but 2023 isn't far away, and I think they always say down south, you look what's happening with Liverpool. They've got Salah and Mane both out of contract in 2023. So I'm not saying that Aribo's going to go to Liverpool and Salah's going to come to Rangers, but it's possible. It'd be a good swap deal actually.
Bring Salah in. I'm just going to quickly go to the comments as well. Please do keep your comments coming because the more comments you put in, the less I have to do background work, and I can just take your comments and put it to the guys, and that means I don't really need to do anything. Pure loyalist, that's the wrong one. Gallant Pioneer, good evening, fellow Bears. Pure loyalist, that's our net. Can't let Aribo go. The issue we've got, Barry, is if Aribo doesn't want to sign a new contract, we have to sell him.
We do have to sell him, but what we need to make sure is we've got the right level of player coming in. You know, we need to have a ready-made replacement being scouted for Aribo so that we can basically make a move on that player. We're obviously not going to invest the whole amount of money that we get for Aribo, say it's anywhere between 10 and 20 million. Maybe buy someone 5, 6, 7 million, develop them again. I think, as I touched on at the weekend, having Dave Voss, the assistant manager now, who's came from Ajax, if he can try and unearth some talent from Holland, some of these younger guys, bring them over, smaller fee, less of a risk, and try and fill Aribo's shoes, essentially, and try and continue that conveyor belt of talent, because you're going to need to have replacements for these guys lined up for your Kents, your Morelos, your Aribos. And if they are going, it's proven that the model's working and we're doing stuff right. You know, I think the critical juncture for me will be in the summer after we've won the league. If we don't win the league, then obviously there's going to be a risk that we maybe lose 3 or 4 of those guys for big fees. If we do get Champions League money coming in, then you can afford to give these guys extended contracts, you know, and they've got a Champions League carrot, obviously entice them to stay as well, you know, compared to maybe a bottom half of the league Premiership team coming in for them. You know, what's the choice? Do you hang around, maybe give another season and playing Champions League football, or go down south for the better money and get involved in a relegation battle?
Well, the thing is, if somebody wants to go for money, there's absolutely nothing that we can do to stop them. We need to all be realistic about it. It doesn't matter how big your club is. We've seen players from the other side of the city go to the likes of Crystal Palace. You're not telling me Crystal Palace are bigger than a Rangers or a Celtic, but they can offer double, treble the wages. And it's a short career. We can't have a go at people for wanting to make as much money as they possibly can.
My last thing on this, we've obviously lost the manager and we've replaced him with Giovanni van Bronckhorst. Ross Wilson, that's part of his succession planning. So the exact same thing will be happening for players. You know,
you'd like to hope so.
I would like, but I think the way that we move so quickly in replacing the manager makes me think that there's a list of number 10s that they have available, players running. Every club has got their analysis and their scouting system, and they're all looking at players going into the last 18 months of their contract and all that sort of situation. So we got Joe Aribo for what, 300 grand? Was it something like a compensation fee? I mean, we're going to sell him for 10 million plus, you know. So, but I would like him to stay a bit longer.
Well, this is the big thing, Kerr, because look, we've seen what Ross Wilson's done with regards to managers. Excellent, can't complain. Gerrard left, nobody expected him to leave. Then we had Gio, superb. But his track record of selling players, he's not been in the door long. But this is where it's going to come to fruition, either good or bad. So we have to see what he's going to do over the next couple of transfer windows. So it's a big job for him. He's got to get it right.
It is, and sometimes you can only sell your player what clubs are offering. You can't force a club to spend more money than they're willing to spend, and you sometimes just have to take what's the best offer on the table, or where the player dictates. The player can also dictate where they want to go because they can dig their feet in. Do you know what I mean? So it's difficult, but we have to sell players for more money. We have to sell players because we need to invest in the club, and that's our model. We can't stay any longer. This guy needs to stay here. It's Rangers. We're bigger than this club. We're bigger than that club. It's a business. This is a job for these guys, and they want to see as much money. I want to see how much money they can make in a short space of time, and they can retire. Don't have to maybe put in a harsh day's work again. So it's money for these guys, and players like Aribo's got expectations of playing in the Premiership one day or down there somewhere. So he's not going to stay along in Scotland. Now, how long do a player actually stay at clubs nowadays? 2-3 years minimum, and they go elsewhere. So Joe's been here. Is this his 3rd season? Come up to his 4th season. So
yeah.
Players don't really stay much longer, and that managers are the same. So it's a case of we'll have a list of players, like Cammy says, to look at, and If one moves out, we would just bring one in, but we'd hope we can sell players for a bit of money, so we're not having to buy his players as much and we get profit at the end of the day, because that's what the business model's for. We need to start making money, not losing it.
We also have to start building that reputation as a club who can sell players for a decent price.
Yeah.
You look at, and again, I hate to compare, but you look at across the city, and maybe an average player, they'll get an extra 3, 4, 5 million for, because of the likes of Van Dijk and Wanyama that have went down there. William Scott, I've been watching for 3 minutes and Cammy hasn't frozen. Happy days. I probably shouldn't have brought that up. That's probably just jinxed it. Pure loyalist. See, this annoys me. Good point, Barry. I never got a good point until about 8 or 9 podcasts in. Barry makes an appearance for 15 minutes and already he's got a good point. That frustrates the life out of me. Darren Stewart missed the start. Where is the Aribo chat coming from? It pretty much is speculation, but it's coming from Nigeria, Nigerian news. CGM, you get decent money for Aribo, and then all of a sudden we can go and get the Veerman level player for 7 odd million. Will Rangers spend 6, 7, 8 million on a player? I honestly don't see it.
I don't really see it myself, to be honest with you. I think we'll have to watch what we're spending. We'd rather buy somebody that was a bit more, would you say, raw, so we can develop them into a player and then move them on. 7 million's a lot of money for Rangers to spend these days. Don't get me wrong, they could certainly go into money, especially if they get in the Champions League and do it, but it's a lot of money to spend on a player. And it's still 50-50 what he's going to do when he arrives. You have to look at Lundstrom, who at this moment in time is getting speculation. People are saying he should be moved on in January and he's just through the door. So it's a lot of money to spend. I think you have to be kind of 80% certain of what you're getting. Maybe something like Kemp is worth it, but then there's other players you think, do we spend that on one player? Maybe that's £1 million can go to 2 or 3 players' wages.
Right, we shall move on very quickly. Blue Heart, good show, lads. Hello, Gary, mate. How you doing? Hope you're well. Thank you very much, Nicholas Dublin. Good point, Martin. You know what I mean? Sword and Shield, great point, Martin, mate. Oh, this is brilliant, man. Any more? Can I see any more?
Well done,
thank you. We spent 7 million on Kent. Yeah, but who else would work for 7 million?
Are they real people, Martin, or are they just like accounts that you?
No, I was busy making up YouTube channels just on the side there. Right, I haven't really seen much of this story because I was working, Cammy. I spoke to you about it earlier. Dave King, I haven't read anything about it, so you will need to update me. I know it's shocking. I host a podcast and I don't really know what's going on. What's the latest with Dave King?
He's went and spoke to the Daily Record. He's not happy about the disconnect between Club 1872 and the Rangers board since he left. He's obviously the ongoing situation with regard to Club 1872 being offered his shares. He voted a certain way at the AGM. There's obviously an issue with regard to him and Graham Park. So he's said loads of things. He's not happy about the media, the way that Rangers are dealing with the media, and Chris Sutton basically backing Chris Sutton. He hasn't really read the room, to be perfectly honestly. See, at the end of the day, see if he's got concerns over the governance and the way that Rangers are being run by the board, just come out and say it. But he's went to a newspaper that panders to. They're so far out of the picture at Ibrox. They're in the car park with Chris McLaughlin, you know. So what sort of favours are you going to expect? You know, Rangers fans are just going to see. Rangers fans with any common sense are going to see engaging with Keith Jackson in the Daily Record and just stirring up nothing sort of thing. If you've got something to say, just tell us what the problem is. What are you not happy about the way that the board are running the club? Clearly, there's been a fallout. You know, we all thought that something had went wrong, but going running to that rag, you know, after the way that they, not just what they've done to Davy and the boys on Heart and Hand, and just the way that they go about their business generally. I mean, it's you know, it's a newspaper that is basically down to 50,000 purchases every day. You know, it's not worth the paper it's written on. But you know, Dave King go and run into them's just...
Do you think the share issue has put his nose out of joint? Because there was obviously a recent share issue at the same time as when he was trying to sell his shares to 1872 and try and set up that share purchase scheme. Do you think that's pissed him off slightly, or do you think it might be something deeper than that?
I don't know.
It's a deep one. It's a deep one for the Aribo, let me tell you.
I don't know. I mean, clearly the fact that, you know, I was never comfortable with it without having into a long conversation about Club 1872, and we've done that to death in the past. If £12 million or whatever is to go into Rangers, or if £12 million of shares have to be sold, the club has to benefit. Not for me, Club 1872 money should be going into Rangers to benefit Rangers, not to benefit Dave King. If Dave King chooses to sell his 10% shareholding, sell it to somebody, and then they come in as a 10% shareholder, that he gets his cash back. But I don't believe that a supporters group, or something that's deemed to be a supporters group, should be helping fill Dave King's pockets. Dave King, they paid lip service to Club 1872 the whole time that Dave King was there. Suddenly he's now not there and he wants his cash. You know, I mean, he can go on about disconnects between the board and what have you. What happened in the period that he was there? Nothing from what I can remember. I mean, Club 1872 is a complete busted flush. Has been since very early in Dave King's tenure.
Do you think this could actually be part of the problem then, Keir? I'm not going to sit here and lie to people watching and to you guys in here. See, when it comes to Club 1872, all these different share issues, the way clubs are run, I do not have a Scooby, right? I'm just thick, right? Honestly, I'm thick anyway, but I'm even more thick with that. But Keir, obviously...
You get a job with the Daily Record then?
Listen, I'm too smart for a Daily Record and I'm thick, you know what I mean? But Keir, there was obviously the partnership with King and Club 1872 with regards to the whole share thing. That seems to kind of, unless I'm completely wrong, and I'm quite happy to be proved wrong, that's kind of fell by the wayside. Do you think maybe that's part of this whole King coming out and trying to make some noise?
To be honest with you, Martin, like yourself, I don't know a lot about it. It's something I don't really look into. I rather look at the football side of things. Obviously, in any business, you're going to get folk who don't like each other, especially when there's money involved, because people do, as you know yourself, do things for money they wouldn't do they wouldn't normally do. So I think obviously he's been peed off with somebody. I don't know if it's somebody in the board members at the moment. I don't know if it's Club 1872. I don't know, but obviously he's been peed off enough that he's went to Daily Record, which, to be fair, if he's got a problem with someone, he maybe do it another way. But you know yourself, when people are frustrated, when people are annoyed, or people feel they can't get a point across properly, they go to the media. And obviously in Scotland, you go to Daily Record because people still think it's the main paper, which, as Cammy just said, it's not really relevant anymore. But I don't know, it's something maybe should have brought up at the EGM. I'm not sure. I know he voted against, was it Graham Park? But you don't know what's going on. You've been there for a while, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Obviously, there's a lot of money involved, there's a lot of big egos involved, and sometimes you just don't like each other for that. And that's the fact, that's the reason. Your ego's bigger than mine, or your wallet's bigger than mine. It can be as simple as that. But it's not great for us because any bad news at all, media pick up on it and then they play with it and then they twist it and then they turn it, and it's not great for Rangers because, like Cammy says, they can't get the proper stuff for the club anymore. So any wee bite they can get, they blow up.
And I just have to say, look, we've got Darren Stewart. He dragged us out of the ship when we needed it the most, but he's tainting his legacy. On the other hand, we've got Tam. King saved the club. He deserves respect. Poor choice of paper or not. So, of course...
Can I just, sorry, nobody spoke to me all day, so I'm just... I've had budgie seed for my dinner. Dave King was part of the people that saved our club, but I think there's people on the Rangers board that also have continued to finance the club. So although Dave King was the figurehead, I think Paul Murray, John Bennett, Douglas Park, all the other investors that have continued to fill the void and have continued to fill the void since Dave King left the Rangers board. So yeah, I'll give Dave King his credit for what he was part of, but it wasn't solely Dave King. You know, there was a lot of investors that we have a lot to be thankful for the last few years. You know, but I just wish, if you've got something to say, come out and say it. Don't skirt about the issue. Don't go running to rags and hinting at this and hinting at that. If you've got something to say it.
Yeah.
Why is he not continuing to invest? Is that another pertinent question? You know, he was keen from the offset to put his money in, you know, and as the other board of directors continue to put cash in, why is he suddenly want to pull his cash out and, you know, go down a different avenue?
Barry, mate, that's twice you've asked a question that it just sounded like gobbledygook to me. You can't come on here and start sounding, you know, intelligent and smart. That's just not acceptable. It's just really not acceptable. But look, in the grand scale of things, Barry, he's went to the Daily Record, right, which maybe shows that he's slightly out of touch, or maybe he's done it for added effect. It could be that as well, because Dave King's a very, very smart man. But then also to mention the Chris Sutton thing. Now, I'm no fussed. If Chris Sutton's banned, he's banned. If he's no banned, he's no banned. I'm not losing any sleep over it, right? But the club have made the decision to ban him. So as far as I'm concerned, he's banned. End of story. It doesn't affect my life. But why is he mentioning it?
It's not a way to get the fans on side, that's for sure.
No.
Well, Chris,
I don't understand. I don't understand why he's even bringing that up.
Does Dave King think that Chris Sutton's comments on BT Sport on Friday night with Daryl Curry and Super Ali were appropriate? You know, brother beaten. You know, what I mean?
See all that, by the way. Yeah.
See at the end of the day, see if Super Ali says something, Father Clancy. Can you imagine the outcry that everything that basically is focused on Rangers and Rangers and Rangers, we're the bad ones, sort of thing. That's why Chris Sutton is not allowed anywhere near Rangers, because he would just antagonise. If he was close to the side of the park, he would antagonise, and then he would be the victim if something happened. So Rangers are doing the sensible thing with regard to that. Whether you agree with it or not, BT Sport just have to suck it up and provide the people that Rangers are happy with. There's plenty good. You could put Johan Mjällby, you could put Stilly and Petrov there. They played for Celtic, but they don't act like Chris Sutton does.
They don't put up an audience, Cammy. That's the problem with Sutton, because you listen to him on BT Sport or when he's doing an English game, he's fine. He doesn't come across butter or anything like that. As soon as he's up in Scotland commentating or talking nonsense, he starts with his crap, like you say, brother beating or using other things just to bombard Rangers, because he knows it's effective, it gets him audience, and he knows also he's got like a free swing, because he's never going to get pulled up about it, and I don't understand why.
Sorry, I need to stop you, right? See a while ago, right? See about, I would say 60-70% of what Sutton said was fine. No issue with it at all. Sometimes he was actually spot on, right? Yeah, and then there was the wee part of what he said that you could tell was playing to the gantry. His wee kind of quips here and there. See now, in my opinion, see that stuff like brother beating and stuff like that. After knowing what John Beaton went through the last time, you know, with that whole there was stuff sent to his house or whatever. That's dangerous, and that should be looked at, because that's pure stupidity from a man who knows exactly what he's doing.
And that's what makes Dave King cozying up to the Daily Record and backing Chris Sutton all the more. He's so far out the picture, he doesn't have a clue what's going on in this country now that he's in South Africa. And those that are potentially advising him that are in this country clearly aren't wired up the right way either.
I know. It's just, I think Hartson's always been a joke, right? Hartson's always been the joke. Never ever took him seriously, but there was a point where I never minded Chris Sutton. I thought it's a bit of banter. He's up for a laugh. Now it's just getting to the point where it's getting dangerous, in my opinion, some of the stuff he comes out with, because there is idiots. There's idiots on both sides that are dangerous, right? But there's a lot of idiots on their side who are a lot more obsessed with us than what our idiots are with them, if that makes sense. And I honestly think Sutton's very, very close. In fact, he's past that point. I know return now, where I don't think we could ever let him back in, if I'm being honest with some of his comments. Anyway, let's move on and talk about our football club and leave that rancid arsehole alone. Barry, Gio, 4 games, 4 wins. Well, hold on, CGM. Why we are wasting our chat discussing Sutton? That's not easy to say. He is not worth it. You're absolutely right. Barry, Gio, 4 games, 4 wins. What have you made of the start? And is he building something special?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think he's the first manager since the 60s to get 4 wins in a row, starting off. So
Yeah.
he started well. He's inherited a team that's not his at the moment. But I think after the way we started the season, conceding goals left, right and centre, he's managed to turn that around very, very quickly with the coaching team that he's got there. I think once he starts to get his own players in January and the summer, I think we'll start to see the real stamp on his team. But you can see already, I think there's subtle improvements. Barisic looks back to being on form again. We touched on Aribo earlier, who I think has put in his best performances in the last couple of years, probably, in the last few weeks. I guess the key thing will be when we play Lyon tomorrow. You know, how well we perform against Lyon, because no disrespect to Livingston or Dundee, it's a completely different level. And we'll see, our levels tomorrow. And hopefully we give a good account of ourselves in that game tomorrow. And I think tactically you'll probably see something different from Gio. I don't think he'll be as rigid as what Gerrard was, sticking to the same formation, same game plan. You can see it already with the fullbacks. You can see it with the wingers. He's playing Hadji and Ken wide, creating a lot of room for the midfielders running onto the ball. And obviously Aribo in the 10, a lot of space to work with, rather than that area being congested with the inside 10s, with Hadji and Kent playing more centrally than out in the wings. So it's interesting, yeah. I think the key test will be when we win the league. That's what he's going to be measured on, Gio, at the end of the day. But the starting position's looking good. We're building momentum, and we're looking as if we're not really going to be conceding or being challenged by too many teams. I thought kept Hibs quiet. Conversely, a couple of weeks prior to that, they destroyed us. So signs are good at the moment.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. And Kerr only conceded 1 goal as well since he's come in. Now, that's a massive turnaround from what we were leaking goals. How many games was it we conceded first in a row? Was it 8 or 9, maybe 10?
I think it was about that, Mark.
And he's come in and changed that right away.
I think that was the first thing he was going to have to do, because every game we were getting into, we were conceding first, and it was always going to be a big ask to come back every game to win after conceding first. It's no disrespect to your opponents, but it doesn't matter who you're playing. If you go 1-0 down, your back's against the wall straight away. So coming in and doing that, making us look more hard to beat, especially getting the defence and the keeper look more confident. I think the players look more confident in themselves. They all do. They all put a bit more energy and a bit more urgency, whereas before he came in, and I'm not slagging Gerrard for a minute, but I think maybe it went stale. I think maybe the players knew maybe Gerrard's heart wasn't in it like it was. Maybe he knew he was looking to go. I don't know. We weren't in the dressing room, but since Gio's come in, the players seem more energised. Tweaks he's made, and that's been as improved as, we're not going out and beating teams 4-5 and stuff like that, but they're finding it. Teams are finding it hard to beat us, and that's the thing. If we can get a clean sheet most games, we've always got a great chance of winning, because we've always create chances and we always can score 1 or 2 goals. So I'm happy with the start. Gio's come in, he's had 4 games, he's won 4, and I have to say I'm happy with it. And I mean, I know people say he brings in his own players, but the players he's got at the moment are decent players. We know what they all can do, and if Gio can just give them more confidence and get them up again, this squad of players we've got just now can win the league without even bringing anybody in, because that's how good I feel they are.
What for you? Sorry, on you go, Barry.
We moved the ball a lot quicker on Saturday than we have all season. It was like one touch, move, and I think the pace that we move the ball around, Dundee couldn't touch us. You know, it couldn't live with us.
Well, that was going to be my next question, Cammy. What is it that Gio's changed then to get this transformation, especially in defence?
It's funny because myself and Kerr done the EPL show, and you can find that on Patreon. And
link is in the description.
And the link is in the description. It's the best show on Patreon. I will say that.
I'll be the best of the rest, that right, Martin?
All best of the rest. All the Soonest Revolution, all the preview show.
I think we were talking about a lot of new managers in the English Premiership, and the phrase that was used often was subtle tweaks, and that is what he's done. He's not got the time on the training pitch. I think January will allow a wee bit more of putting his stamp on it, but I think, as the guys say, there's good players there. You know, I'm delighted that Scotty Arfield's continued. He's clearly, he sees a player in Scotty Arfield. He's one of my favourites. If we can keep him fit, I think he was one of the bright points in the semi-final debacle. And then he's obviously, he wasn't in the team, but he's then obviously his performances. He came on at Hibs last week. Morelos has scored 3 and 4 under Gio, and as much as I still think he's got a bit to go to get to the Morelos of previous seasons, I think I stuck it on my Twitter on Sunday and Monday. That's 10 goals Morelos has got for the season. Now, for a guy that hasn't had a consistent vein for him, I think 10 goals isn't a bad return. If he'd taken half the chances, he would be probably on 25 by now, sort of thing, you know. But I think his general play, I thought his game on Saturday, he missed a couple of really good chances. He scored a fantastic Morelos bulldozer Buffalo goal, but I thought his link-up play was really good on Saturday, you know. And I think there's obviously Roy Mackay's working with him. I think you're hoping that there's going to be a positive impact with regard to that. But I just think it's been a positive start. We want to get to the evening of the 2nd of January in a similar position to where we are now. If we can go into the winter break 4 points clear, we'll kick on once we get into the new year. But very positive start. I think it's weird sitting watching a game on Saturday, and there's times I wasn't actually watching where the ball was. You were watching Tav maybe being 20 yards further forward, and Barisic had almost came in, so you were essentially almost playing 3 at the back at times. And then when Barisic went forward, Tav was so it was a bit more, rather than the 2 fullbacks being gung-ho and being your wide players and creating. I think he's said, I'm going to get a flat 4 as much as I possibly can, and that's going to be the foundation. And as the phrase is, keeping the zero, you know, 3 out of 4, keeping the zero. If we can continue that when we go to Hearts and we go to Aberdeen and we go across the city, I think the signs are very positive.
Right. We've got a question for Aldo before I carry on. Right. We all really want to know is, how was the night out, lads? Share the gossip. But by the time I got there, everybody was drunk. I had 5 drinks and went home. There you go. That's the gossip from the night out. That's pretty much it.
Martin went up the road himself.
Yeah. And as you can tell, my missus has just sneaked in with a towel around the head. Is it fair to say Kerr more organised under Gio?
We've looked at that in the last 4 games, obviously, and I think the players are taking instructions on board and they know what they're doing. That's what I mean about the players looking more confident. They know the job they've got, whereas maybe under Gerrard, I'm not saying it was worse or better, but sometimes the players looked lost at times, especially when teams were hitting us in the break. We looked a bit all over the shop, but the players have they've set out, they've got a job, like Gammy says. Tav sitting in, back Borner sitting in, whereas before they were probably further forward in the forwards at times, because many times you'd have me to run into the box for the header and stuff like that. So I think Gio's putting more emphasis on not conceding, but knows we'll always get the chance to score as well. Whereas under, you see Villa under Gerrard, they play roughly the same as we did. They like to go forward, fullbacks go forward. And then there's gaps at the back when you're playing against better opposition to attack into. So it's good when it works for you, but when it doesn't work, you have to change it, and that's where he faltered. But hopefully Gio, I feel, has got more than plan A under his belt, and I'm happy with it at the moment, Martin, and long may it continue. See,
Well, of course, I'm on mute and nobody can hear a single word that I'm saying. So there you go. I was making a great point as well, but I'm not going to remake it.
40 minutes in, and that's the best chat you've had.
The best chat. It was awesome. I wish you could have heard it. GB, who get to jail? Nobody get to jail, but for regular watchers, you will know that we've got another host, Jamie Duff, the beautiful bald alien, was tucked up in his bed for 9 o'clock. There you go.
he was out cold.
He was
You didn't even know what day it was.
Yeah, he was gone. Such a shame. Such a shame. Darren Stewart, good point, Martin. Thank you so much. Damn, that was a great point. Right, now this is confusing, I think, to everybody. And I'm not really sure how to take this tape, but I'll go for ABCD care. Are we allowed to go to Lyon? Are we not allowed to go to Lyon?
I think we're allowed to go. What I've just last read, I think we're allowed to go, and I'm echoing somewhere, so I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi or somebody else's Wi-Fi.
You're not echoing here, so carry on.
Last I've read, I think the fans are welcome now. So the ones that's not changed their plans are probably still going, but the folk who've changed their plans or diverted flights or whatever, I don't know what they're going to do. It was quite poor the way it was done with the French authorities and stuff like that, especially left it still late. But obviously they say Rangers fans are welcome now, but to be honest with you, it's just a bit shocking that what you're doing with different countries where you can go, where you can't go. I mean, I think majority of them are just flying in and flying out anyway. So, but that's the world we live in nowadays with the pandemic. It's not great.
No, listen, it's not great. The whole pandemic thing, there's nothing we can do about that. But Barry, like GB says, the way it's been handled is absolutely mental by the French authorities. For people, for example, Barry, right? You were told you can't go, right? So you've cancelled everything. You've been told you can't go. Who gets that money? Do you get that money back? What's the script for that? Who pays that money? I know the French are well known for surrendering, but when it comes to money, I don't know. So it's just the whole thing has been absolutely shocking.
I just don't understand how it's been withdrawn one day and then the very next day, like 12 hours later, is back on again. Surely they would have held off on making any decision until they knew for absolute certainty, that the fans weren't allowed to travel. And I think the fans should rightly have a claim into the French government or whoever the decision maker is around that to try and get their money back. If they're not getting a refund through the club or through whatever the travel agent they're travelling with or whether they're going independent. I think it's an absolute shambles. And then other people have been obviously paying additional money for the PCR test or the COVID test on top of that, arranging some of those things at short notice. So, it's always the fans that seem to be out of pocket. And the administrators obviously don't take that into consideration.
Do we expect anything, Cammy, from Rangers, anything more to come out for Rangers about this, especially the fans that have been hit financially?
No. Basically, no. The Rangers will not, UEFA will not do anything, Rangers will not do anything. We're good at issuing statements, but we will not actually, there's nothing that I don't think they can really, I don't think there's much they can really do. This has been pretty much out with their control. I think there was it's like a supporters federation that back all football fans in Europe. I think that had got involved, and I think that's basically how it's changed over the last 18 hours. It's just farcical, I mean, folk that were say booked with sport options, for example, had they knew they were going to get a refund, had then, as happens with Rangers fans, Rangers fans see that as we're still going to go. We'll get a ticket in the home end, So it's the official flight. I don't think is going to happen. The corporate flight's not going to happen. But I still think you'll probably still have 1,000+ Rangers fans make it over there one way or the other. But I think a lot of people have maybe pushed it on their flights until the playoff round. Whoever we get, they've managed to do that, and so they're not really out of pocket. They're out of pocket at the moment, but they'll get the use of it in the future. But no, Rangers won't do anything.
Look at Scott in Berlin. It's a fluid situation all over Europe. It's the new norm. Surprised fans were even allowed in the first place. Doesn't change the fact here that people have spent a lot of money to go here. And my point about Rangers, listen, it's in no way at all Rangers' fault. This is all we do with the French authorities. But do we, and I'll kind of rephrase the question, do we expect Rangers to kind of chase up a kind of, I can't even think of the word I'm looking for, a conclusion to this to help supporters that have maybe lost out, or like Cammy says, they're good at issuing statements, but we don't think anything will get done?
I don't think so, Martin. I think Rangers say it's probably, like you said, it's out with their hands. There's not a lot statement chasing up that they can do. I think nowadays you're told before you book anywhere, make sure there's no restrictions in place, make sure this is not in place, and I think that's what the fans will be getting told. And I think it's just hard, the situation we're in, and like the boy Scott said, it's probably advisable just now. I know people like to go, people like to watch football wherever it's played, but at this moment in time, it's probably advisable not to book anywhere unless you're 100% certain you're going to go, because not everybody's flush of money. You can lose a lot of money out of this. I know you can take it, it's insurance, but there'll probably be loopholes in that way. You don't get money back either. So it's hard on the fans who go to watch, because a lot of fans like to go everywhere, but at this moment in time, it's very difficult to go places.
Is there a worry now? And Barry, I'm seeing quite a lot of comments coming in, like GB, Bayern games behind closed doors tomorrow. Darren Stewart is saying might be the last chance of an away trip for a while. I'll be worried now that, and hopefully I'm just talking absolute nonsense, but that we might be going back to quite a lot of games behind closed doors.
I think there's a number of countries in Europe, Germany, Belgium, I think have been decimated by COVID in the last month, 6 weeks. So I think you were starting to see reduced attendances at some of these games. I think I read at Dortmund, they were down to about 18,000 for 80,000. So it might happen for the next few months, right through to February. I think it would be a killer for us when this draw was made on Friday and we pull Dortmund out the hat and we're not able to travel over to the Westfalen. That would be an absolute gutter, I think. Or anywhere in Europe for that matter, if you pull, a Cat A team out the hat, Milan, or I'm not sure of Barca in second or third. But you know what I mean, one of the top teams are in the pot.
And my message has promised that we can go to Russia if we draw Zenit, because she wants to go to Russia. So
you get a haircut before you go, though.
I would fit in Russia with this hairdo. Who you try to kid? I look Russian.
You probably not come back for Russia.
I'd come back probably speaking the language, Kerr. I'm not intelligent. Pure loyalist. Take it, things are getting bad again. Not nice to see. Club at 22 evening, guys. Don't think the club can do much, unfortunately. However, still a boot in the stones for fans that have booked up, and the constant U-turns. Poor from the French. That's the French way, innit? Are we worried, Cammy, that these behind, and I'm just a very quick answer because we're going to move on to the Lyon preview, because I've just realised it's 10-8, and yes, CGM, I do look a little bit like Rasputin. Are we slightly worried that these behind closed doors games could make their way to British shores?
I'm not concerned at the moment. I think across Europe, I think as Bazza says, that they've been hit quite dramatically. So no, I'm not concerned at the moment. I think we will have restrictions, but that's for another podcast.
Yes. I just thought I'd put that question in without realising what time it was. Kerr, we're playing Lyon on Thursday. Let's start this.
That right, Martin?
let's try and talk football. I was even going to bring up the Dundee game, and then I realised, we've got far too much to talk about, and I've just touched my hair, and that's it. I'm done. We're playing Lyon on Thursday. What's your thoughts? Team selection? What are you thinking? A few players rested?
I think a few will be rested. I think they'll maybe rest some of the guys who either carrying small knocks or guys who bring in guys who wants to give some game time to. Nathan Patterson will probably come in. Fashion will come in. I mean, I know I don't want to go there and get well beat. I want to go there and compete, but I'd rather keep the players who we really need for the game on Sunday myself. Because I think that's more important at this moment in time. Because I think we need to let Tynecastle and win. I don't want a draw at Tynecastle. I want to win. So I'd like to see play a team to compete on Thursday, but come back with no injuries and go to Tynecastle on Sunday and get a result. But it'll be interesting because I think Lyon will do exactly the same. Because I think they'll rest a few players because they're through as well. So it will be an interesting game.
Well, it'll be an interesting game then, Barry. I mean, for us, of course, it's going to be interesting for us, and we're going to be, glued to it every single second. But for a neutral tuning in, are they going to tune into two teams with basically one or two of their regular starters and the rest subs?
It's probably more one for the diehards, isn't it, really? I think for us, the only benefit that we can get out of the game is probably coefficient points and money for the win.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we continue to get the coefficient points in Europe. Benefits us not for next season, but the season after. We're looking to qualify for the Champions League again and keep that momentum going at a country level. The strange thing team-wise for me was no Kent in the lineup on Saturday. Now, I never heard any communication from the club around his absence, whether it was an injury.
Gio just came out and said he was being rested.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if he'll come back in for tomorrow, whether he was being rested for Lyon or whether he'll be rested again for Hearts come Sunday. But I agree with Scotty. We need to obviously keep Tynecastle on Sunday and try and play our strongest team possible for that game. That's the most important one for me out of two.
Listen, Cammy, nobody's going to argue that Sunday's far more important. Even if we hadn't qualified yet, you probably still have the majority of fans saying that Sunday's far more important. A lot of changes expected for you, or is it a chance for Gio to get the team that he sees as his first team or as close as possible to it, to play another game together, to gel with that system?
I think one thing we've seen so far, he hasn't made a lot of changes from game to game.
Mm-hmm.
This, I think, you may find there'll be another couple. I'll be very surprised if Nathan Patterson doesn't play. I think Ryan Jack, Bacuna, I think Morelos and potentially Fashion are both a booking away from missing the first leg of the playoff round, so I think that'll be a factor. Kemar Roof will come back in. Kemar Roof was not involved in the game at all at the weekend, so I think he's a nailed on starter.
Yeah.
Balogun, I think, has returned to training on Sunday, so I think it depends how his training has went. I think you might find he comes in just to give him the minutes. I don't think it'll be wholesale changes. I think you'll still have Golson is always there. I think Kamara is always there. But I think it's a good opportunity. Take Scotty Arfield out the other sort of games. Davis has had the weekend off, so you maybe bring Davis in for this sort of game. But I think we just want to go and put on a reasonable performance. If we can get anything there, I think it's. I was just checking where Lyon are actually sitting 12th in their league, which is bizarre for a team that's absolutely steamrollered their way through and have looked the best side in the group. Which I was just curious to see who they play at the weekend, and they play Lille. Lille are sitting 11th and 12th. I mean, it's if we go and play like we can, there's nothing to stop us from getting a positive result on Thursday night, no matter who the starting 11 is.
True, I agree, but I don't know. I'm caught between a rock and a hard place, Kerr, because there's a part of me that wants to just go and beat them because they have been by far the best team in the group. But as Club at 22 have put in, look, play King at the back, good opportunity for him to play in Europe with no real pressure on him. Is there any point in playing a player in Europe if there's not going to be any real pressure on them?
He'll also be playing in the Youth League tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, there's that as well. Yeah. I don't want to go to Lyon with a ridiculously understrength team and get an absolute pumping. And yes, John, it was the ice cream van outside that you heard. It wasn't actually my phone. So I don't want us to make too many changes that just disrupts the flow. Plus, you want Gio to keep going, no lost a game yet, and keep the momentum going in the team as well.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't think he'll make a lot of changes. I think he'll make the changes that he thinks are required. Like Cammy said, maybe the boys are on a booking, and the boys he feels are carrying knocks or he wants to rest for Sunday. I think the Goldson will still be there. Tav will probably be there. He might play Tav and Patterson together, which could be a good opportunity to see how they work together. But I think we'll still have a strong team out, and I think we just go out there and play the way we can. I mean, I don't think we'll get well beaten. I think it could actually end up a draw, but I think even on his mind, Gio's mind, he'll be looking at Sunday as well, because Sunday is a big game for us. Hearts are unbeaten at home, and we need to go there and get 3 points. And we're through in this. I think being through any next round is it's a blessing for us because we can go into this game on a bit. I'm not saying more relaxed, but we know we don't have to go there and go full steam and try and get a result. Do you know that way? So I think you'll probably change a few and keep the majority spine fine. McGregor would probably bring in Jiggy McLaughlin, but we'll see what happens on Thursday night. But I'm sure Gio will play a team he thinks is going to win it. Whatever team he'll play, he'll think are going to win it, but he'll just be careful with some of his selection.
I know that's actually a good point about the defence, Barry. Are you inclined to think, look, bring, I don't know, Balogun back in if he's feeling a bit, if he's match fit, get him some minutes? Or are you thinking to yourself, play the defence on Thursday that I'm going to play on Sunday, just to keep that defence together? Change whoever you want in midfield, change whoever you want up front, but just keep that back five the same.
That was one of the things I think with Gerrard. He tended to swap out one of the centre halves pretty frequently every week. And I thought for continuity, I don't think that was great. I prefer to have a settled back five.
Yeah, so do I.
I prefer to keep the back five in place for as long as possible. Probably as much of the season as you possibly can. Pick your best team, your back five. Only be changing that when it's down to injuries or whether there's better quality to come into the team. Maybe with players coming back from injury. But I prefer having a settled back five.
Yeah, absolutely. Graham Ross, get us all a cone. I will get you all a cone if I could afford it, and I'll be able to afford it if you sign up to our Patreon. Link is in the description. You can sign up for as little as £2 a month and you get access to at least 4 shows a week. And we will continue the 4 shows. I will try my best to continue the 4 shows a week during the winter break that we really do not need. Please do like and subscribe. A like goes a long, long way to help share the podcast. And also, of course, please do subscribe. We're getting closer and closer and closer to 4K subscribers. All that's left, guys, is predictions and first goal scorer. Get your predictions and first goal scorer in the comments. You've got about a minute and a half. That's just for Cammy's answer, obviously. Got about a minute and a half. Get your score lines and first goal scorers in. Kerr, I'll start with you.
Well, start with me. I'm going to go for 2 each. And first goal scorer, Golson.
2 each first goal scorer, Golson. Barry?
I'm going to say the same as Scott. I'm going to go 2 each as well.
Sorry, this is your first time on the main podcast. You're not allowed to go the same scoreline.
Okay, I'm going to go 2-1 Rangers then. Roof, first goal scorer.
Well, who's it? Are you going for Goldson as well?
Roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, Darren Stewart. 1-2 Rangers Roof. There you go. Cammy?
1 each. And I think Leon will score first, and I think Kemar Roof will equalise. So first Rangers goal scorer will be Roof.
I'm going to go 3-0 Rangers, first goal scorer Kuzan. Wait a minute, no, that's what am I thinking? I don't even think he scored the first goal that night. There you go. I don't know. I'm going to go 4-1 Rangers.
Lee McCulloch with a bullet header.
Lee McCulloch with a bullet header, that's it. We've got Pure Loyalists, 2 each. Morelos with both goals. 3-0 for David with a Fashion Junior hat-trick. CGM's going for a 2-2. He's going for a Desmond. Patterson to score first. That'd be interesting to see if Patterson gets a game. Lee Henderson, 1-0 as Borna Barisic, first goal scorer. We've got 1 each with Roof. And Nicola Stubborn is 1 each with no goal scorer. Sword and Shields, just lads. There you go. Happy with that. So that's us. That was a quick hour, wasn't it? That was really, really quick. So thank you to everyone. I was expecting a wee bit of talk back there.
Yeah,
Martin, it flew in. Gary Sellers is going with 1 each. Will Connor Goldson sign a new contract? Oh no, we can't even go there.
Martin, I'd just like to say, good point.
Thank you very, very much. Please do like and subscribe. Of course, Patreon's available. CGM, very, very quickly, how many times has Patreon been mentioned? Thank you to everybody for watching. I really appreciate it. We're getting so close to 4,000 subscribers. It's crazy in just over a year. I honestly can't thank everybody enough. We will be back on Thursday, about 2 or 3 minutes after the final whistle with reaction. And of course, we'll have our preview show on Patreon on Friday. And we'll be back with reaction on Sunday after we beat Hearts. So thank you so much for everybody watching. 6 times Patreon was mentioned, now that's 7. We shall speak to you soon. Thank you for watching.